Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette Charles L. shares his top 2 choices for Joan. The first season of The Golden Bachelorette is rapidly coming to a conclusion. Will Joan Vassos find the second great love of her life? Fans will have to tune in to find out. But her former suitor, Charles Ling, revealed his top 2 choices for her. Golden Bachelorette fans adore Charles Ling. Mark Anderson was supposed to be the fan favorite of The Golden Bachelorette. Viewers already met him when Kelsey Anderson brought Joey Grazive home to meet her family on The Golden Bachelor. Mark is now Joey's future father-in-law. While Mark has many fans, viewers immediately took a liking to another contestant. Charles Ling charmed viewers with his wholesome attitude. They'd also felt for him when he struggled to accept his wife's death. He was able to get closure when Guy, a doctor, explained the details of how Charles' wife died. Charles L. connected with viewers, but unfortunately, didn't connect with Joan Vassos. He was sent home on the October 9 episode. Mark also failed to find love with Joan and was sent home in last week's episode. Guy is one of the 4 men remaining. He joined Chuck, Jordan, and Pascal as the last 4 suitors. One of them will hopefully get Joan Vassos' final golden rose. Fans gushed over Charles Ling in a recent Reddit thread. One fan wrote, "We need to wrap Charles in bubble wrap and protect this man. He is so precious. He was and still is my favorite person to grace the Golden franchise so far." Another added, "Charles is hands down my very favorite man on the show, possibly any of the shows. He deserves everything he ever wants." A third Redditor wrote, "Charles is the best thing to happen to this franchise ever." His top 2 choices for Joan. Charles Ling recently spoke to Glamour magazine about his time on the show. The Golden Bachelorette alum revealed his reaction to getting eliminated. But during his time in the mansion, he had a unique perspective of Joan's relationship with the other suitors. He told the magazine his prediction for Joan's final 2. The lush mansion of the Golden Bachelorette echoed with the soft murmur of final deliberations. Under the setting sun, with its amber glow casting long shadows over the gardens, Charles Ling, one of the most endearing contestants of this season, sat down for an exclusive conversation. In the face of the stiff competition and growing tensions between the men, Charles appeared calm, his silver hair perfectly combed, his voice soft yet decisive, as he revealed his top 2 picks for Joan Vassos. For weeks, the audience had watched Joan carefully whittle down the pool of charming gentlemen, each hoping to capture her heart. But what many were curious about was the inner workings of these men's minds, especially someone like Charles, who carried the aura of an old-school romantic. Now, with the season rapidly approaching its dramatic conclusion, the time had come for Charles to share his own thoughts on who he believed was truly suited for Joan. He straightened his posture and took a slow breath, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "You know," he began, his eyes shining with sincerity, "Joan is 1 in a million. It's not every day you meet someone with such depth of character, intelligence, and a heart that's as genuine as hers. And as much as I believe that, in the end, her choice is all that matters, I've spent a lot of time thinking about who I would pick for her if I had to choose." The weight of his words settled in the air, and Charles leaned forward, as if sharing a cherished secret. "There are 2 men in this house," he said, his voice lowering, "who I think could truly make Joan happy. Mark Anderson, the protector with a past." Charles didn't hesitate when revealing his first choice. "Mark Anderson," he said with a nod. "There's something about Mark that just clicks with Joan. He's a protector. You can tell by the way he looks at her that he'd do anything to keep her safe, emotionally and physically. Joan needs that type of strength, especially after what she's been through." Mark Anderson, the ruggedly handsome retired firefighter, had quickly become a fan favorite. With his broad shoulders and reassuring presence, he seemed to always have an eye on Joan, ensuring she felt comfortable, respected, and cherished. Though some of the other contestants had raised eyebrows at his sometimes overbearing nature, Charles saw it differently. "I know some of the guys think Mark's a bit too intense," Charles admitted, "but I see a man who's had a lot of life experience. Someone who's been through the fire, both literally and figuratively. He's faced challenges and come out stronger on the other side. That kind of resilience is exactly what Joan needs in a partner." Charles recalled a moment that solidified his belief in Mark as a strong contender. "I remember one night," he said, his gaze distant, as if reliving the memory. "We were sitting by the fire pit, and Joan was talking about her late husband. The pain was still there in her voice, but so was her hope for the future. Mark listened, really listened. He didn't try to fix it or make it about him. He was just there for her. That's rare, you know? He didn't just hear her, he understood her." Charles paused, his face softening as he reflected on Mark's unwavering support. It's not just about chemistry or attraction with those two. It's about the long haul. Mark has the patience and compassion to be there when things aren't easy, and that's why I think he's one of the best choices for Joan. David Kent, the gentle soul with a dreamer's heart. After a moment of contemplation, Charles revealed his second choice with a smile that hinted at admiration. "David Kent," he said warmly. "Now he's a different kind of man than Mark, but no less deserving. David is a gentle soul, a dreamer. And Joan, well, she needs that too. Someone who can make her laugh and dream again." David, a retired musician with a passion for travel and art, had been one of the quieter contestants throughout the season. But his sincerity, coupled with his easygoing nature, had begun to shine through as the weeks progressed. Where Mark represented stability and protection, David offered Joan a world filled with creativity and possibility. "David is the kind of guy who would never let Joan forget how beautiful life can be," Charles continued, a glint of nostalgia in his eyes. "He's the kind of man who would wake up every morning and remind her to find joy in the little things, whether it's dancing barefoot in the kitchen or watching the sunrise on a spontaneous road trip. He's the one who would keep her young in heart." Charles chuckled as he recalled one of David's more lighthearted moments. "There was that time during one of the group dates," he said, shaking his head fondly, "when we were all getting a little too competitive, trying to impress Joan with our athletic abilities. David, instead of trying to outdo everyone, grabbed Joan's hand and started waltzing with her in the middle of the field. No music, no fanfare, just pure, unfiltered joy. That's David. He doesn't need to be the biggest or the strongest. He's just himself, and that's more than enough." Charles acknowledged that David's quieter nature might be seen as a disadvantage in the eyes of some, but for Joan, it could be exactly what she needs. "Joan has already had a life full of ups and downs," he said softly. "David would be the one to show her that love doesn't always have to be grand gestures or dramatic moments. Sometimes it's in the quiet, simple things where love truly grows." The final decision. As the interview came to a close, Charles reflected on the journey so far. "Both Mark and David bring something special to the table," he said thoughtfully. "Mark's strength and protective nature, paired with David's gentleness and creativity, offer Joan two very different but equally beautiful futures. I don't envy her choice, but I know that whatever path she chooses, she'll find happiness." Charles smiled warmly, his eyes sparkling with a mixture of hope and fondness. "If I were in Joan's shoes, I don't know if I could decide. But one thing's for sure, no matter who she picks, she'll be loved." And with that, Charles rose from his chair, the golden glow of the setting sun casting a soft halo around him as he walked back toward the mansion, where Joan's journey, and his own, was still unfolding.